Welcome to today's program. Today, I wanted to explain to you my own personal story and as it relates to retirement. There is a lot of literature out there. There's a lot of information about retirement, particularly in the financial angle. That's not what I'm emphasizing here on this conversation. It's not about the finances only. In fact, if you are 60 or approaching 60 or just over 60 and you are about to retire and thinking about retirement, the likelihood is you've built a pension pot, you probably have paid up your property, down your mortgage, you got savings, you got investments. But you may have missed out on probably the biggest blind spot ever missed by everybody in that sort of age bracket. Now, let's consider what happens if you are over 60 and what blind spot I'm talking about. I guarantee you that you will not have heard of this being talked in the same way as I'm talking to you about it today. It is one of those things that we hear, it goes over our minds, it goes over our brains, and we think we've captured it, but I guarantee you, if you stay with me for the end of this video, you realize that you've never thought about it in the same way. And in fact, I'm going to get vulnerable here. I'm going to talk about my own personal story from when I started work to now. I am 64 now. And I'll take you through various phases, not because I want to take you through my own life story because it's interesting. In fact, like most other people in the West, if you've worked in the West for companies and you're not a politician, you're not a musician, you're not a movie actor, the likelihood is your life is like mine. It's not that interesting. So I'm not taking you through it because I thought my life is interesting, but it allows me to bring out this key blind spot, which I think nobody's talking about retirement. So I'll take you through about 4 phases of my life. The first phase is actually very normal for everybody. It's during the education phase. That's probably between the ages of 0, call it 5 to 30. Now I say 30 because most people finish university around the early 20s. I went on, I did postgraduate degrees, but nothing to write home about. I got a postgraduate degree, I had my first degree and my second degree. And in between then, I was doing traineeships and working, and my career really started when I was about 30. So I'm going to start the phase 1 of my story between the ages of 30 to 44. Reason why 44 is because between the ages of 30 and 44, I worked for 2 companies. I was quite steady. I worked 7 years in each, which took me from the age of 30 to ages of 44. That's the phase 1. I'll take you through phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. I guarantee you the main blind spot I'm about to talk about is in phase 2, and I will not be able to make the point very well unless if I explain to you what happened to me in phase 1. And also after phase 2, when you hear the blind spot, it takes about the other phase 3, phase 4 to be able to really learn the lesson. Hopefully it'll be worth your while. During phase 1, I was working for 2 companies. Like most young people, I was quite ambitious. I did very well. I got promoted. I climbed up the corporate ladder in the first one. Later on, I joined the other company at a higher level. And then I progressed very well to middle level. Probably some people call it higher level management. Call it middle level. By everyone's standard, by my neighbor's standards, by my friends and relatives, I was doing very well. In fact, even when I reflected on it, I thought I was doing very well. I had my family, I got married, I had my house, paying down the mortgage, I had investment properties, I had a very sizable pension pot, which was growing year on year, and had investments. I was going on holidays, exotic holidays. So I was doing really what most people in middle level management in corporate life will do in the UK and probably similar countries. Now, there's nothing interesting about that apart from the fact that during that time, I did not see anything that wasn't just good in the way I was progressing. My health was okay, and I was progressing. Let's just put it like that. Crucially, I created a foundation for my wealth. During this time, I had built all the foundations for my wealth to grow and for compounding to be deployed on it. The interesting thing about this is I did this without even a very clever, proper system. I just did what most people did. If you are responsible, then you are not maybe too on the laissez-faire side. You took a pension, you bought your property. That's what everybody did. Between the ages of 30 and 44, those have compounded very well. And by the age of 44, quite frankly, when I looked at my asset base, I was quite pleased. And I was thinking about retirement. That takes me to phase 2 of my story. So phase 2 is ages 44 to 54, which is another 10-year period. I had already planned to retire at the age of 55 because that's when you can get access to your private pension, and I had a sizable pot. And I thought at the age of 55, I'll grab some of my tax-free income. I'll use that to bridge me between then to the age of 66, 67, when state pension will come in. And I had a few investment properties. I would just then retire. It really looked very rosy. And I can guarantee you 99% of the people in my situation will see it as going very well in that scenario. But something happened during this phase 2, which is where the blind spot I'm about to talk to you about surfaced. During one of the years, one of the summers, we went on holiday, myself and my family, and it was in Spain, and in one of the swimming pools, we were swimming in the pool, and I noticed one thing. In that pool, there was the far shallower end, there was the deeper end, and it was full, it was heaving, and a lot of people there were enjoying themselves. There were families in the shallower end, and there was the gents, the men, in the deeper end, doing backflips, doing everything, and I was in that end naturally. And I noticed that most of the younger men could literally hurl themselves out from the pool by using their arm strength. And I tried doing that, and I couldn't do it. Now, this might sound so benign, might sound so uninteresting, so uneventful, that you might wonder, well, why am I talking about the story? But I suddenly noticed that my upper body strength had gone. And the same summer, something else happened. When we got back to England, we went shopping, myself and my wife, and in Sainsbury's. We didn't take the car. I said, let's take a walk. I'm coming back. We're all carrying bags, carrier bags or plastic bags. And it wasn't that heavy. And it was about maybe a mile's walk from the supermarket to home. And honestly, halfway through, I could not carry the bags properly, and I could see my wife actually was a bit stronger. And that was another telltale sign that something was happening to me. And again, it registered, but not something to really be alarmed about. But that was the second thing that happened in that same year. In the same year, My neighbor, who is slightly older, at this time I was about 54, 55. My neighbor next door, his car broke down. He was an elderly man, maybe around 60. And he came and knocked at my door. I knew him. His name was John. He's passed away now. And he wanted us to help him push the car. And honestly, we tried to push it. Me and my family, my wife and my daughter, we tried to push it. We couldn't push it. And then he said I should go to the steering, and then he will go and join back, and I should just help him start the car. He went to the back of the car, and my wife and my daughter could push the car. And the interesting thing about this story is that it showed that I was the difference. It showed that I no longer had the strength. We helped him start the car. Again, that was another eventful thing. And one more story, then I'll move off the stories. The other time, I wanted to open a jar of tomato paste for my wife to make pasta in the kitchen. I tried to open it, I couldn't open it. And one of my handymen had just come in to pick his tools from my house, who was working for me. He came in, and very casually, I handed the jar to him, and he opened it while talking to me casually. Now, I tell these stories not because they are interesting or they're eventful, but because during this period, this phase 2 period, during the ages of 44 to 54, I suddenly had lost my strength. My assets in my wealth were building. I was getting richer and richer. I was approaching retirement. But guess what? My body was going the opposite direction. The blind spot here, it is not the fact that I was losing strength. The blind spot is this. If you remember in phase 1, I created a foundation for my wealth. I bought our main property. I bought investment properties. I started contributing to a pension, and I put money in savings. Those assets were growing automatically by themselves. Compounding was doing it. Now, you will imagine that for my health, maybe the reason why I got weak is because I wasn't doing anything well. No, this is the lesson. During the ages when I was building those assets and my wealth was compounding, I wasn't sedentary. I wasn't just a lazy person who sat down. During this period, during the ages of 30 to 44, 44 to now approaching 55, I was very active compared to most people. I was going swimming maybe once in a while on Sundays. I would go with my family, my children. Sometimes, in fact, most times I would go running. In fact, I was known at work as the person who went around running in the morning. And sometimes I joined some colleagues and friends and did five-a-side football. And even I did a bit of like gym work. Once in a while I'll join the gym, maybe do half a year. Particularly in a year I'll join maybe during the first 6 months I'll go to the gym. So I was doing quite a lot in the health and fitness side. What's happened to that? Now the reason why this is absolutely a blind spot and is important is, whilst for my financial assets, I did that without a proper system. I just did what everybody did. I bought a house, I invested in my pension, I did everything else. I did that without even a lot of effort. When it came to my health, and it was growing for the financial side, when it came to my health, I also did what most people did. I swam a little bit, I ran a little bit, I went to the gym, all intermittently, all without killing myself, but doing probably more than the average person. But here is the lesson. That was not enough to save me. At the age of 62, moving to phase 3 now of my life, I went for a checkup. And I found out that I had full-blown metabolic syndrome. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and basically I had diabetes, type 2. Now, think about this for a second. Pause, because this is the lesson. I did everything casually, everything else for my financial wealth, and that was growing automatically through compounding. And I also did what most people will do. If you ask any person if they are fit, they will tell you, yes, I go running once in a while, I go swimming, I play a round of golf, I do this. Most people do that. If you define an active person, ordinarily that's what they will do. I did all those, but it wasn't enough to save me. And the reason is, it was not a system that was enough. And because unlike wealth, financial wealth, you cannot put it on autopilot and it compounds in the background. My health did not compound in the background. It did not improve. In fact, it was declining. In fact, most of the things I did may have stalled it a little bit. It may have helped a little bit, but it was not enough. The lesson here is, we think, particularly when we're about to go to retirement, we think if we create the wealth, because we've been successful in the financial side, we think we are good at doing things for retirement. Actually, a lot of that is being helped by the compounding, by the economy, by what's happening with the stock market, by what's happening to house prices, by what's happening, just the mere motion of the economy and compounding will make you successful, and you think you are clever, you think you are successful. That's what I thought. But when it comes to health, you will have to swim upstream. Now, it does not mean you have to become suddenly a CrossFit person at the age of 50, 60, because that's not what I did. So at that age of 62, when I had that diagnosis, I got put on medication. I had medication for high blood pressure, for diabetes, high cholesterol, and I was told I have to be on this medication for the rest of my life. Now, I was asked to change my lifestyle, which I did change most of my lifestyle. I then decided I'll read up all about health. I did everything under the earth that you would have heard of. I did keto, I did carnivore, I did Mediterranean diet, I did everything. I started running more of the things I did prior to that. None of it was enough to save me. And it's not because I've got something genetically wrong with me. It's because when you get to the age of 50, 60, 70, most people don't check anyway, but if you do check, you find out that you will already have a chronic syndrome. You could be lucky, it may not have gone past the tipping point. For me, it had already reached that tipping point before I caught it. But if you don't catch it during that time, it will catch you maybe soon after you retire, or maybe 5, 6, 7, 10 years after you retire. And when I caught that, and I did everything that my GPs, my general practitioners advised me, it wasn't enough to save me. I did all the protocols out there, all the fashionable ones. None of it was enough to save me. I then decided I'll take matters into my own hands, and I started constructing my own system. And I did this because I sat down, I found out, why am I successful financially, and I could retire and probably not need to work for the rest of my life, but I cannot have the health even to take me for 5 years. That made me ponder. And then when I did an introspection into it, I found out that the financial side of it, there was already a societal, institutional system that supported anyone who participated in it. But for the health side, it was more to repair you. I compared the stock market and my pension management company with the NHS. God bless the NHS, National Health Service in the UK. It's really good. It can look after you if you're in trouble. But what I looked at it, if I'm honest, it was not intended to build and compound my health for when I retire. It was only there for me not to fall through the net or to give me a gentle fall if really things go bad, which is what it was doing. I then asked myself the question, if I was to do the same thing as what I've done in my financial side of it, what would I do? I sat down, I crafted a daily system, which today we call it the Stand Tall 60 system, and I kept it very simple, and it became I made sure it is deliberate. It's not something that just I outsource. It's not something I just let other people tell me what to do. And it is this. The system involves every morning I will wake up in the morning, I will hydrolyze, I will drink water, I will mineralize, I'll take some minerals. In this case, particularly in the winter, vitamin D tablets and fish oil. Very simple. Now, I was on medication, so I took my medications. But put that aside because I'm no longer on those medications, and I'll talk more about that towards the conclusion. I will take that, and then I'll go and do that will take me about 3-4 minutes after I wake up. Not more than 5 minutes. Just a glass of water, which I keep by my bed, and then I'll take my minerals, which is creatine, sometimes, but definitely vitamin D tablets, and fish oil and creatine. Those three. That's my mineralization and hydrolyzation. So I've got water and minerals in my system. Then I'll go downstairs. Then I'll do body weight exercise. I'll do push-ups or sit-ups or body squats. And there'll be videos on this channel which will teach you how to do that properly. So I will not go into them here. But I'll do that as my step 2. So step 1, hydrolyze and mineralize. Step 2, body weight exercise. Every morning, and that will take me about 5 to 10 minutes. Maximum of 10 minutes, but mostly 5 minutes. Then step 3, I've got dumbbells and I've got barbell, and I'll do a bit of weight exercise every morning. Again, I will start from the bottom up because I like strengthening my legs. Again, there are videos here about lower body strength. I'll do that another 5 to 10 minutes, and then I've got a stationary cycle inside my house, which again I'll ride on and to increase my heart rate, and then after that I'll go for a walk, anything between half an hour to 1 hour. I come back, and I do that every day. And I started to do that while still following the medication prescriptions from the GP, and within 6 months I'd totally cured myself. And when I went for my first checkup with the GP, they thought it was the medication, and they reduced the medication, and they asked me what I'd done. I explained to them, and then in another 6 months I was totally off medication. And today I've changed my health from then, when I was diagnosed, when I had about 83 to 84 kilograms in body weight and 23% body fat, and all the metabolic syndrome, to today, 2 years later, from 62 to 64, I'm 64 today, to 72 kilograms, 16% body fat, going 15, and I feel today more fit, more energetic than I was in my 30s. In fact, my last checkup, my metabolic age I was given 36. Remember, I'm 64. So that's a huge margin, a huge turnaround in under 2 years. And I was only able to achieve this by following a coherent system that was proactive, that wasn't too much, but it addressed the issue. I did not outsource it. I did not go let some gym dictate my programs. I stopped relying on keto, carnivore, Mediterranean. I did exactly what I thought would cure me. And that system has not only helped me, but it has helped countless friends, colleagues, other people that have taught this system. And this system is available on this channel. All you have to do is reach out and we'll send it to you. But the blind spot I've been telling you about is this. We all prepare for financial retirement at around the age of 60. And we almost all succeed, but for the simple reason that the system itself, once you set it up, compounding will help you. When it comes to your health, there is no system out there that gives you the same level of support that makes you succeed automatically. You will have to do it individually. Not only that you have to do it individually, you will have to work out a system that does not rely on just dealing with your situation when it's already gone bad, like myself, but you have to deal with it as though you are starting today to build your health as a capital asset, which it is. I am today so used about getting to retirement because not only have I created a very strong foundational financial base, I can retire and probably do not need to work unless the fact that I've got so much energy I cannot stop working. And that's one of the fallouts. During this time when I had the metabolic syndrome and I cured myself, I was looking so much forward to retirement. When I took control of the system and I healed myself, I had so much energy. I got promoted even at the age of 60 at work, and I got given more money, and it doesn't stop coming. You do not need to do too much. You do not need to do something extremely intensive. That's how I found. But you do need to do something deliberate. And you do need a system. The blind spot is for your wealth, for your businesses, for your family, for other things. You can build a foundation, and to a very large extent, they could grow themselves. But when it comes to your health, even standing still means going backwards. When it comes to your health, you will have to actively do as much as you do for your financial health, but it requires a very small amount of investment daily. The good news is this, that unlike your financial health, where you have to go in to a workplace or to a business and give 10, 15, 20 hours at a time, or you sometimes have to exert a lot of physical energy. When it comes to your health, from the tone of this video, you might think it hasn't got levers, it hasn't got leverage like wealth has. Actually, it does. A very small amount of investment in your health daily will give you a huge payback.